We're back to the Neil Haley show, and I read both Case for Creator and also Case for Christ. Did not get a chance to hear about to get to read Case for Miracles. We're talking about the theater. It's coming to theaters nationwide, but I'm with New York Times bestselling author Lee Strobel. Lee, how are you doing? Did you ever imagine in a million years when you first wrote Case for Christ that it would become so big, you'd be a New York Times bestselling author, and also take some of your productions to film?
Thanks for having me. First of all, I didn't see any way I'd ever become a Christian. I mean, I was an atheist. I was a hard-hearted, profane, narcissistic, immoral living atheist at the Chicago Tribune. And I never could have conceived becoming a Christian, much less setting aside my entire journalism career, taking a 60% pay cut and joining a staff of a church, and then spending my life telling other people about Jesus. I could not have foreseen that. And it's a joy to use the gifts that God gave me as a reporter, as a journalist, to now use it to investigate matters of faith and hopefully encourage people in their faith and point people toward God.
Yeah, and Lee, when Case for Case for Christ
Yeah.
came out, I read the book and I'm like, oh my gosh, unbelievable the amount of historical research you do and
Yeah.
everything you do.
Well,
And
it's a joy.
that's the power of
Yeah.
you're putting a case, and that's where I love the title of everyone, because you're not treating this like, okay, it's perfect, it's a guarantee. You
Yeah.
have to put evidence involved in
Yes.
everything you do.
That's
Explain how
right.
you figured all that out, especially as a journalist, to make
Yes.
that evidence take.
Well, this is how we live life. When you think about it, I've got a glass of water here that my wife gave me. And how do I know it wasn't poison? It could have been poison, but I look at the evidence. What's the evidence? Well, we've been married 53 years. She doesn't have any reason to poison me. The glass looks clean. The water looks clean. Doesn't smell funny. There's no people in the neighborhood who are dying of drinking tap water. But it could have been poison. But based on the evidence, I take a sip and I see that it's good. And that's what the Bible says. To take a taste and see that the Lord is good. We respond to the evidence. We follow the evidence. We follow the trail. There are about 20 different arrows of evidence that point in a direction toward the truth of Christianity. Is faith involved? Yes, but faith is a step in the same direction that these arrows are pointing. That's logical. That's rational. We do that every day of our life. And so that's why I think that to investigate spiritual claims is important for non-believers to discover God, but for believers to strengthen their beliefs.
Absolutely. And you think about when you did Case for a Creator, wrote Case for a Creator, you looked at the same
Yeah,
thing scientifically and really
exactly.
took the breakdown of what scientists say
That's
and
right.
what the other that, well, we do have to teach also there's a creation in science, and there's a definite case for it. And
That's
still
right. You
people
look
don't
at,
see
I
that.
did
Yeah.
a book more recently called Is God Real? Because get this, 200 times a second around the planet, someone is typing into a computer search engine the question, is God real? 200 times a second. People are curious. And so I did this book called Is God Real? And a new one called Is God Real for Teens, kind of a book for teenagers that looks at that very thing. What is the evidence from science that points toward a creator, from cosmology, the origin of the universe, from the fine tuning of the universe, from genetic information? What are the arguments from philosophy? What is the evidence from history that Jesus is who he claimed to be, the unique Son of God? And I put that into one volume. And because I think the case is clear and it's compelling that Christianity is not based on wishful thinking or legend or mythology. It's based on solid evidence that points in a direction.
All right. So let's talk about, again, this is a case for miracles.
Yes.
How did that start for you?
Well, my journey to God came by investigating a miracle, which was the resurrection of Jesus. Anybody can claim to be God as Jesus did, but if Jesus claimed to be God, died, and then 3 days later returned from the dead, that's pretty good evidence he's telling the truth. So it was an investigation of the historical evidence for the resurrection that brought me to faith. But I wanted to look at, is God still in the miracle business today? Is he still doing miracles? And so I look at cases, not that you read on the internet or hear whispered in the church or whatever. I'm talking about cases that have been documented by multiple medical researchers, many of them published in peer-reviewed medical journals. This is solid stuff. Because to me, if four things are true, we can conclude a miracle has taken place. Number one, do we have solid medical documentation? Number two, do we have multiple incredible eyewitnesses who have no motive to deceive? Number three, is there no natural explanation that can account for this? And number four, did it take place in the context of prayer? And we have cases that meet those stringent criteria, and I think will deepen the faith of believers, but also point spiritually curious people toward the reality that God exists and he's still intervening supernaturally.
Absolutely. So basically, the case for creator, I mean, I'm sorry, the case for miracles.
Yeah.
Did you write that as a book or is it just
I did.
you
It's a
did it?
book, came out a few years ago, and then my friend Manny Sandoval, who's a movie maker, said, "Let's here's an interesting thing." He said, cinema is the language of young people, and if we want to reach young people, we got to talk their language. So let's do a movie." And so it was his idea. He came to me, said, "Let's make a movie out of this." I said, "Okay, let's do it." And it's a very creative movie. In the movie, Manny, my friend, and I take a car trip down Route 66 in a 1967 Ford Bronco. So the cinematography is beautiful. And we talk about miracles, and then you see them played out in flashbacks and so forth. And so we had a lot of fun making it. And I hope people have a lot of fun seeing it.
So I only asked for one miracle. So you got to see the film to see them all. But how did you come up with some of the miracles in your research?
Well, most of them are ones that have been documented. So in my book, so these are cases that we've already seen the evidence for and are convinced these are not just coincidences. They're not misdiagnosis. They're not the placebo effect where people think they're going to feel better and so they feel better. It's not fraud and so forth. So, for instance, we have a case of a woman who was blind for a dozen years. She, in incurable condition, juvenile macular degeneration. Nobody's ever been cured of that. She went to a school for the blind. She learned how to read Braille, and she married a pastor. And one night they're getting ready to go to bed, and he begins to cry, and he begins to pray, and he says, "God, I know you can heal my wife. I know you can do it, and I pray you do it tonight." And with that, she opened her eyes and saw her husband for the first time. She said, "After years of darkness, I opened my eyes and I could see perfectly. It's a miracle." And I think it is. I mean, how else do you explain the only case in the annals of medical history where someone is spontaneously cured of this incurable condition, documented by multiple medical researchers, published in a peer-reviewed medical journal? I think any reasonable person would conclude that something supernatural had taken place.
Right. And that's the power of believing.
Yeah, that's right.
If you have that belief, it can happen.
Yeah, when it's anchored in evidence, when it's anchored in truth. I think young people today especially are looking for something to anchor their life in. And guess what? That's Jesus is who we can anchor our life in. He'll change your life, he'll change your eternity.
And we're seeing how well Christian films are doing in the box office. Perfect timing to bring it there.
Yeah, this was not a big budget film. I mean, it's we we worked long hours for very little, but we'll see what God does with it. I just hope that believers will take a step of inviting a friend who's spiritually confused, and that someday we're going to see in heaven people who'll say, "You remember that movie that y'all made on a shoestring? God used that to help me awaken to the fact that He exists and He still does miracles today."
Well, I love this for sure, the story and where you're going. Now, movies, what's next for you?
Well, I'm working on, I'm going to be 74 years old, so I'm getting toward the
You
end of
don't look
my.
74. You
Well,
went in
thank
the
you.
fountain of youth at
Well, I,
74.
I feel 84, so.
Okay.
But I have one last big book in me, and my magnum opus, and I'm not talking yet about the content or anything, but I just wrote the preface to it last night, and it's going to come out in 2027. I'm going to do a national tour of mega churches around the country to talk about it. And we're going to give away 1 million free copies to people on college campuses and in churches. So we're praying that this is going to be a one of those events that God uses to open a lot of eyes to His reality.
Well, fantastic. And again, like I said, you take it a different way than everybody else. So if you want to have an argument with somebody who doesn't believe in God, read Lee's works for sure. Lee, where can we check out the movie? Best place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go to the caseformiraclesmovie.com. Dot com. No, is it org or com? I think it's .com. The
.com.
caseformiraclesmovie.com. And you can see the trailer and you can buy tickets right there. Put in your zip code. It'll tell you the local theater that's going to show it.
Thank you again, Lee. Appreciate it,
My
sir.
pleasure. God
All
bless
right.
you.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley. We're back to the Neil Haley show. And when you think about a documentary and learning something that I never knew before, as having an undergrad in history and studying, never heard the true story of how ordinary people that were not Jewish helped the Jews during one of the most challenging times of their lifetime with the Holocaust. So my guest today is filmmaker Nick Davis. We're going to talk about this ordinary thing. Nick, it's a tearjerker. And how did you get started to get this going?
Thank you, Neil. I got started to get this going because, like you, I didn't know about this very much. I had heard of Oscar Schindler, but when I came across these incredible transcripts that had been from interviews that had been conducted with all these people across Europe who had, at great risk to themselves and their families, rescued Jews and saved them from almost certain death. And that all of these people were working independently. There was no networking. They just, knock on the door. Will you help us? Oh, I didn't even know you were Jewish. Yes, of course, we'll hide your suitcase. Or, oh, okay, yeah, of course, we'll hide your baby. Or let me talk it over with my wife. We didn't know you were Jewish. You know what? I'd feel awful if I found out this person was killed. So we better take this child in. And then a couple of weeks later, knock on the door. Well, what about the sister? Will you take the sister? Well, if they'll kill us for one, they'll kill us for two. I mean, the way these stories all sort of spoke to each other and were all over Europe, it blew me away. I mean, I tend to have, I think I've thought of the Holocaust in very black and white terms. But to realize that in this sea of evil, there were all these pockets of goodness rising.
Right.
And so in a certain way, it was a very inspiring group of stories, as harrowing as most of them are.
Your documentary really talked about things before Hitler came into power, which sometimes is not brought out in documentaries or films. They just go right into the Holocaust before any of these things happen. And from watching yours, I learned things that I just did not know how it was working in the background. Things were happening before even they decided to then go ahead and eliminate them.
Yeah, and I think there's a character voiced by Martha Plimpton who says, how could you not have known what was going to happen? The parks said, park benches and restaurants said no Jews here, and it's like once you start dividing people on the basis of accidents of birth, or belonging to a certain tribe or another tribe, you're going down a slippery slope. You don't always have to end up in a Holocaust, but it's not good.
The hatred that is taken and how they were dividing everyone kind of seems familiar in so many aspects. And it's scary looking at that and saying, hey, people were living through this, not knowing what the next phase was.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know, and that's the whole point of history. I mean, we tend to view history as a settled story, but it's not. As you're living through it, they don't know in 1936 what's going to happen in 1939 any more than we know what's going to happen in 2028. So the idea that and that was sort of one of the goals of the film was this should feel current and alive and active and colorful. We wanted to find as much color footage as we could of the 30s and 40s of ordinary people doing ordinary things like eating in a cafe or driving a motorcycle or swimming in a lake in Europe in the 30s and 40s as we could, so that you could feel this thing happening and feel its relevance to your own life.
You think about exactly. And I think the thing that makes your documentary is showing people who were not Jewish helping other Jews survive the Holocaust. I think that's just fantastic because I just don't think I think we thought all the stories were Jews helping Jews through it, not
Yeah,
non-Jews.
it was
Yeah.
eye-opening to me as well, and to get this to get that across that these are people helping people who are different from each other, was really important. And it is the essence of the whole thing is like our shared humanity. And that's what I hope that all of these stories are really about.
When you think about the Jewish people and how, I guess, misunderstood at that time before Hitler put I guess, a bullseye on them, were they being misunderstood in Europe before that or not?
Oh yeah, no, no, no. I mean, there was a lot of anti-Semitism in Europe. For I mean, you go back 2,000 years, and there's been anti-Semitism, and it comes in waves and rises and falls, and who knows why. But certainly there was anti-Semitism that Hitler and the Nazis sort of, it was there. It was a spark. They didn't create it.
Yeah. So what do you hope most people get out of the documentary?
I hope most that people see these stories and listen to these stories, and ask themselves these kinds of questions like, what would I do if somebody knocked on my door and they were on a different team than me, and I do think, like, the world is so divided right now, and there's so many forces, and not just politicians, but the algorithms and the
Mm.
corporations like to put us in, different teams, and like, okay, you're on the red team and you're on the blue team. And it's like it's an accident of birth that you're on the red team and you're on the blue team, and we're here for a very short period of time. And I think a lot of us have walked around and seen somebody and thought, boy, if I'd been born where that person was born, then I'd be that person. And maybe therefore we shouldn't be killing each other just because we're different from each other. And I think, frankly, I think that's why we were able to get the cast that we did. I mean, the way the film was sort of created was we found all these transcripts and we knew, okay, this is the story we want to tell. We edited it down and then gave it to these friends of mine and people I knew who liked, doing voices, and they'd say, hey, take 20 minutes and do a couple of voices on your iPhone and send them to me. And we started editing the film that way. And that's what helped us shape the narrative. But my wife and the partner in our production company, Series of Dreams, Jane, was saying, like, from the start, okay, this is good. It's helping us figure out what the story is, but when are you going to get real actors? And I would think, I don't know. I think Eric's pretty good. And eventually it was like, no, no, no. Okay, she's right. We have to try and get real actors. It's a long shot. Who knows? It's a odd length. It's a weird little film, but we sent out all these requests and stuff through our agents, and nothing happened for a few months. And then it was time to record, to really lock the film. And then one day, out of the blue, we get a call. Dame Helen Mirren wants to be in your film.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
like mind blowing, and it opened the floodgates because once you have her, then it makes it more like a real thing. And so the next thing you knew, within 2 or 3 weeks, we had this ridiculously, incredibly accomplished and brilliant cast. And it's not just that they've won 5 Academy Awards or actually more, like, and all the awards and stuff. They're great. And as good as Eric was, and I no disrespect to Eric, the elevation of the film once you have Jeremy Irons and F. Murray Abraham and Kerry and these people living and breathing these stories and making you feel like this is really happening
Yeah.
now. It's current. It makes you ask questions about what would I do, or is this relevant to today, and is there something I should be doing to help the situation?
And I think you should bring that up. I mean, I mean, it's not to the level of Nazi Germany where we live, us in the United States. However, if you go to other places in the world, it is. That's the mistake we make is in the Western world. Is we don't look at the whole world and
No.
what's truly happening in places right now. where even though there are things happening in the United States, but just think of it 7 times worse if you're talking certain places in the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean, I do hope that people watch the film and think about that and think, okay, I would like to do something to erode, do my contribution to erode the boundaries that have been unnecessarily erected between us.
And there's such civil rights questions that go through this film as well that you wouldn't have thought. And people who probably said there was no Holocaust. That was the most eye-opening statement, is that one of the reasons why someone got involved was because they said there was never a Holocaust.
Yeah,
So they told their story. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The character voiced by Helen Mirren says, like, I didn't ever talk about what I did during the war. It was I did it and whatever, and I moved on with my life. But then I started hearing people say the Holocaust didn't happen, and I had to speak out because we can't let this happen again.
And is that one of the reasons why you made this film? Is that reason too? Or is it more historically, or how are you looking at after people have viewed it, watched it, and then where it's going next?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little of that. I think it's we can't let this happen again, and it's also just yeah. I mean, at its core, I guess I don't even. I'm maybe more optimistic, and I don't think it is going to happen again. But I don't even want to get close to it, and I'd like us to please see that. I mean, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but I always think about the Jerry Seinfeld line about sports fandom, and it's like we're rooting for laundry. Like, and you know it with sports. You know there's no difference between the guys on the Mets and the guys on the Phillies,
Yeah.
but you love them and you hate them. And the truth is, if they just traded, if the teams were
You would be
traded,
cheering all those other people because
yeah,
they're on your team now.
yeah, and
We hated this guy, and now he got traded. He's on our
yeah,
team.
yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's like that. It's as in some ways it's as simple as that. And I don't want to come off as a kumbaya, but I mean, we're here for a short period of time. We should learn not to kill each other at the very least.
And that's one thing I try to do in my media, Nick, is I have both sides of the aisle on my show. I give everyone a chance to discuss, and I'm not leaning any direction. And that's hard as an independent, podcaster, radio, TV guy, is that
Yeah,
I'm not going to go this route. I'm
right.
going to give the story to everyone. So just because you didn't like this person, the other person's going to get this platform too. And it's time
Yeah,
for you to say it. That's what I
right.
wish we had,
Yeah,
right? And it's not at
yeah,
all.
yeah. Well, maybe we'll get there. I don't know.
You never know. Again, films like yours. How has the feedback been, especially in the Jewish community? What have you been hearing that way?
The feedback has been really very positive and gratifying from just everybody. I mean, yeah, very heartening so far. But it's early. It's early.
Hey, but I mean, you did it well. Got the right cast. You put the right film together, and it's fantastic. Where can people check this out, Nick?
So if they're in the New York area on Friday, December 5th, the film will be playing at Cinema Village downtown on 12th Street on the same block where Jane and I moved after we got married. So there's a wonderful symmetry to that being from my point of view anyway. And then it's going to drop nationwide on VOD, Amazon Prime, iTunes, and those kinds of things, March 31st of 2026.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that people can't wait to see it. And then if you're in New York, you definitely need to check this out. I appreciate it, Nick. And thanks again. And
Thank you, Neil.
I have to watch it a second time. That's how good it
Okay,
was. So
great.
you did a very good job.
Thank you
All right.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Take it
Appreciate it.
easy.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show. We'll be back. Taking a new meaning. As one of the most expensive times of the year approaches, Chime has released its Unwrapped survey, which reveals how Americans are rethinking the way they spend this holiday season. To help unpack the findings, best-selling author, podcaster, and renowned finance expert Patrice Washington is here to share what's topping wish lists this year and her expert tips for banking smarter without losing the holiday spirit. So, Patrice, thanks for joining us. What is the average holiday gifting budget, and how should people allocate it amongst family, friends, and coworkers?
Well, Neil, this season, the average holiday budget is $1,120, and people are prioritizing, as they always have, their kids and their partners. But really, what people want is to do something more practical this year and to really preserve their financial well-being. So you may not know this, but back in the day, people would say that giving cash was taboo or it wasn't thoughtful. But Neil, that's exactly what we're seeing. More people are saying, I actually want the cash. And not only do I want it, this holiday season, I need it. So we have 58% of respondents saying, I would love to get cash because I want help with my utilities, or half the respondents, 51%, say, I need some help with the rent. 44% are saying, I need support with paying down my credit card debt. So essentially, Neil, this season is really in the gift giving space about giving people the cash. They're saying, show me the money.
What do gift exchanges look like from state to state?
Well, in places like West Virginia and Georgia, we have about 70% of the respondents saying, definitely give me cash. But what I love is people are still saying, I want to create some memories. In places like Indiana, 84% of respondents say, I want a full trip paid for. I mean, that's not bad, right, Neil? A full trip to be paid for, or concert tickets. It's different across the board, but the average American, whether they are a baby boomer, millennial, or even Gen Z, expects to receive about $600 in cash this season. That's what people really want across generations and across regions.
Wow. What regional trends have you noticed throughout the country? You're kind of already giving us a few of those.
Well, in the Northeast, the average person plans on spending about $1,200. In places like the Midwest, we're talking about $1,000, just over $1,000. But what I really find interesting is this time of year, people start to ramp up how much they are checking their accounts. So 40% of respondents say, during the holiday season, I check it at least once a day. But in Nevada, Neil, they're checking it multiple times a day. 30% of respondents say that they are looking at that account morning, noon, and night, just making sure that they are taking care of their finances as they make it through this season.
So do you think that psychologically can hurt them by looking 3 times a day to your bank account?
I think that what people really need is to focus on using tools that allow them to bank smarter during this season. Because if you're getting those automated notifications or you're already automating your savings, there's really not a need to check it all day. But if you had the support of a good banking system or tool that you were using that would just let you know when those red flags come up or when there's something out of the ordinary, that you wouldn't have the tension of needing to do that throughout the day.
See, I'm an entrepreneur. What do you think the time of day should I check my business bank account? Should it be in the morning or at the end of the day? Because then you kind of react based on the day, based on what you're seeing cash flow wise is for your business and where you're going and how that day was versus some days where it's really good, where some days it's really bad.
Yeah, well, as an entrepreneur as well, I personally prefer to check first thing in the morning, make sure nothing crazy happened overnight, right, Neil? And then I usually will check again in the evening.
Wow,
Just,
twice,
just to be
really?
sure. I do. Yeah, because there's a lot of transactions happening.
Yeah,
and
truly.
I do agree with you, especially in the holiday season. We just want to make sure when, things can get off the rails during the holidays that we're all in line and in order.
Interesting. So I'll have to try to take that approach. I was thinking, well, if you have a bad day and you're like, I don't want to look at my business bank account because I got, a lot of clients about to pay tomorrow and it doesn't feel great, then your whole mood goes. So, but I guess if you make it a process to go in the morning and in the evening and schedule that time to look at all your assets and everything, I think it's a great idea. All right. Any other tips on how to best allocate our holiday gifting budget?
Well, Neil, one thing I do want to say is that, the survey actually revealed that 41% of Americans are saying, well, I'll deal with the holiday budget, but then I'll recover in January. And I just really don't like that mindset. 41% say they'll cut back in January, but I say, why wait? If you can start to automate your savings and just really focus on having the best financial blueprint or practices now, we don't have to let ourselves get in a hole during the holidays and then deal with it in the new year. Let's just be more intentional about banking smarter and using tools like Chime's tools to really preserve your financial health and your financial well-being. We don't have to wait till January 1st. We can start today.
With all these tools available, automate. Anyone could be a person now that could, even if they don't have financial literacy, can do it with tools like Chime or AI tools that can really make your life easier. It really can.
I want you to go into the new year clear and confident. So we want to start now. We don't have to wait until January 1st, 2026. We can start now.
All right. So for more information, they can go to chime-holiday.com. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And you can find insights on your region, your area from the Unwrapped survey.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks,
You're
Neil.
listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back. My time is running out in so many ways. I don't want to get people stressed, but to avoid the hectic holiday hassle, that we have the toy industry's premier player, Elizabeth Werner, on the show again. And Elizabeth, we're getting to the final leg of the holiday season where you got to get going and get moving, right? Time's running out.
Yeah, it's true. This is it. We're at the end here, so I've got some great ideas for the entire family. I'm going to help everyone out today.
All right. So what's new with Lego this year?
So I absolutely love Lego, and the Lego group is bringing us something called the Creator 3-in-1 Wild Animal Set. Here's why I love this. This has 3 totally distinct builds built in. So first they're going to build maybe a panda family. Now, once they've built that panda family, it's not just going to sit on the shelf. They can take that apart and build a pair of orcas, or maybe they're going to want to build a couple of really cute penguins. They're all in there. Once the kids see that they can take these things apart, put them together, and create something else, it's going to inspire them to continue doing that, like the old days where we actually just would create things out of our imagination with Legos. So it's really the gift that keeps on giving. Over 600 pieces. It's a very great value.
All right. Refurbished technology is a new trend. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so Back Market, this is genius. They're the world's largest premium refurbished tech marketplace. So they professionally refurbish tech products so that they function like they are brand new. Now, you can shop with confidence. They give you a full year warranty. They have things like the Apple Watch Ultra 2, the iPad Mini 7, the Nintendo Switch, and you can get them for hundreds of dollars less, and we're reducing waste, which I love.
Interesting. I never would have thought about that. So basically, it's a great idea to look at the refurbished technology then. It sounds like instead of spending, go.
Yeah, it's very common in Europe, and I think it's really a growing trend and something we should all be thinking about.
Well, I did this with some MacBook Pros, and it worked out well to get the best technology possible by getting a refurbished one.
Amazing.
So you never know, because paying full price sometimes not the best. That's why you got to get moving quickly before this time is running out. What games can you suggest as the ultimate stuffer this holiday season?
Yes. Okay. So most people recognize this. This is Bananagrams, iconic word building game. They've been around for 19 years now. Well, it's amazing. This little pouch holds 144 lettered tiles. Players work really frantically to actually create words in their own crossword style grid, which I love. It's great for all generations. It's obviously great for on the go. This is all you need to bring. So bring it on your holiday travels, play it with family. That's what memories are made of.
I love it. And now we're going to go to my favorite thing. With Stranger Things final season out, we didn't get the final yet, but we're there.
Yes.
Do you have toys tied to this phenomenon?
Oh, yeah. So our Stranger Things radio station. Now, first of all, Jazzwares has an entire line of Stranger Things toys. If you are obsessed like me, you must go check them all out. This is the perfect gift for all the fans. This is such a phenomenon. It's detailed, 3D environment, 3 different levels, dual-sided play, so you can really get into it. Breakaway floors, glow-in-the-dark elements, a portal that's got moving flames in it. It even comes with the 4-inch Robin figure, which everybody is going to love. But again, check out the entire line from Jazzwares. It is remarkable.
Fabulous. And are you excited about Stranger Things final season out?
I feel like I am, but I'm also sad because I don't want it to end.
No. And I was so wanting it to be the next episode. And I'm like, oh man, we got to wait. And then
we're so used to watching an entire season at once that it's hard when we have to wait. But I'm glad because, like I said, I just don't want it to be over.
And the streaming changed, right? It used to be that you could binge watch. Now you have to wait till the show's over because they do it
Yep,
every week now. Go figure.
exactly. Exactly.
Where can you suggest people go to get all their last minute holiday needs?
Okay, so Walgreens. I know the holiday road is very long, but I want you to think that Walgreens, they have literally everything. They've got really festive, fun holiday items. They've got really thoughtful gifts. They have personalized photo keepsakes. They made an amazing puzzle of my kids. They made ornaments for my family that I thought were amazing. Last minute hosting gift, your self-cares. If you're about to have an evening dinner and you realize you've forgotten something, you can run there and grab it. They've got locations everywhere. By the way, order sitting on your couch. It'll be in your house in an hour, or you can go pick up delivery within 30 minutes. So they're making it easy, but gift boxes, tissue paper, gingerbread houses, advent calendars, you name it, they've got it for you.
Excellent. Excellent. That's new information. Definitely people will have to go. Where can we find information on you, Elizabeth? And what do you think's the latest day you should shop? You probably have all your holiday shopping done now, right? Already, I'm sure. You seem so organized.
I am very organized, and I have to be. With 4 kids, a hubby, working, traveling, so I do shop ahead. I also am one that really likes to look for great values. So here's what I recommend. Really make a list now of all the people that you need to shop for. Go online, do price comparisons. Shop what's most convenient for you. You don't even have to go park somewhere, store with a door. Most everywhere delivers now. And I would start knocking things off the list. It's going to come faster than we all realize.
Definitely faster. Fast paced. Let's go. I'm excited. That's what we want. Holiday season. Any last tips for our listeners?
So the biggest thing I like to say this time of year is put the phones down, spend time with each other, enjoy good meals, play together, because this is what memories are made of.
All right. Thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show. I kind of love the West in so many ways and thinking about my days in Texas. And now, we're going to be talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma with my guest today, Teresa Knox. And she's going to talk about the church studio. Teresa, thanks for stopping by and your book and all those things. I appreciate you coming by.
Thanks. So excited to be here.
Yeah. So kind of talk about how it got all started, the church studio.
Well, I love that question. Hence the name. It started out as a church 110 years ago. It was a Methodist church and was finished in 1915. But really, its claim to fame is what happened in 1972. And that's when another Okie, Leon Russell, was #1 touring artist in America, came back to his hometown of Tulsa. He impulsively purchased this building in the spring of 72 and converted it into this really amazing recording studio.
Oh, wow. And so why the book? Kind of explain how that happened.
Well, I purchased, kind of like Leon, it was kind of an impulse purchase. I bought the building almost 10 years ago, and I'm a native Tulsan, and I'm a music memorabilia collector. So I had thousands of pieces of J.J. Kell and Leon Russell, and he had a record label called Shelter Records, a lot of that stuff, Mudcrutch, which turned out to be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, one of the biggest artists to record at the church studio and get signed to Leon's record label. But I just contacted the owner. It was boarded up. It was really dilapidated. And sent him a letter and said, hey, I'm a huge Leon Russell fan. I'm super interested in buying this building. Would you consider that? He said, it's not for sale, but let's meet. And so we met and met and met. And he still wouldn't show it to me, but I ended up buying it sight unseen. And the book was important. I've interviewed about 400 people. There was really no documented history on the building. Not even Leon knew the year it was built or the denomination. And the more I learned about it, including during the 70s and all the artists that recorded through there, I thought, it is such an amazing story. If something were to happen to me, so much of it is still in my head. I need to get it down. So I really just wanted to, document that history, honor the people that came before us, and celebrate how we use it today.
Yeah, and you think about books, I think it's such an important part to put all that history down. And then the book is sensational. And Leon Russell's should again be applauded for his efforts, as you were kind of talking about. As the book says, heartbreaker Mike Campbell says that the label was called Shelter as a shelter for great artists. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it was really neat. That record label started before he bought the building in Tulsa in 1970. He had a British partner, producer, a man by the name of Denny Cordell. And on the road during the Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour with Joe Cocker is really where they built this record label. And they wanted something innovative and different. They wanted something very opposite of what was happening in Los Angeles at the time. So I really, really, really love the name, but it's this very entrepreneurial boutique record label that really gave a lot of artists their start. And again, we've hosted Mike Campbell. I've had an opportunity to interview him, and Ben Montench as well. And I love their stories about being in Tulsa and really giving so much credit to Leon and Shelter Records, to this amazing career that, they experienced with the Heartbreakers.
What do you think made Tulsa a place for artists for creativity in the 1970s and again today?
Yeah, I think it really starts before then. Of course, Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, they were here in the 1940s with the historic Cain's Ballroom. We had the only radio station that strategically located in the middle of America that would broadcast from the West Coast to the East Coast. But I think also we are kind of the epicenter or the center of Route 66. So you talk about flyover states and drive-through states, so many artists stopped here. They would jam with our local musicians. So the local music community was always super prepared for these artists. So I think it's a combination of things. We're also native land. We only became a state in 1907. A lot of people, credit the spirituality of the land and all of the different tribes and, even some of their beats, kind of the precursor to the blues. So I think we've just always had this really magical musical history in our city.
The church studio has moved from being a record label headquarters to a community anchor. How do you describe that transformation?
Well, it was definitely a private recording studio when Leon Russell had it from 1972 to the late 70s. So it was for his own projects, his friends that would come through there. But today, after we went through a 6.5-year renovation, and so it is open to the public to record, but we are so much more than that. We have about a 6,000 piece archive. So we are a music museum. So we get tourists from all over the world coming to Tulsa to visit us, as well as the Bob Dylan Center, who's our neighbor and also located in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But we have an audio engineering school, and we really just blew up as a tourist attraction. Our primary function is recording, and that's what we do 7 days a week. But people are so interested in what we do in there. And of course, they're always hoping to run across a celebrity. But yeah, we welcome thousands of visitors, as well as all of the artists that record with us.
How do artists today respond when they realize they're recording the same room as Tom Petty, J.J. Cale, and Leon Russell?
I think they love it. I mean, artists call it the vibe. I mean, part of it is it was a church 110 years ago. But when they walk in, we have so many different wood species throughout. There are 11 wood types in the building. And the analog is just really very beautiful. But artists, get kind of emotional when they walk in there. And again, part of it is the sound, the history of a church. But when they think about all of the different artists that came through there, like the ones you named, but also, Willie Nelson and Eric Clapton and Stevie Wonder in Kansas and, so many incredible musicians in the 1970s. I think it's really inspiring to them. And so many will come in and they'll have an unfinished project and they just feel inspired to write, during the recording process. And it's really neat to see all of the new music come out of the studio today.
Tell me how you came to be involved and your background.
Well, again, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had older siblings that were big Leon Russell fans. And so at the age of 8, I collected my first item that had Leon on it. And I just continued to collect really my entire life. So even before I bought the building, I had thousands of pieces of memorabilia. So I don't have a studio background, so that really was not my original intention. I just wanted to restore the building, honor the legends that came before myself. But then it just took a life of its own, and I just knew it needed to go back to being a recording studio. So today we operate as a full-blown digital recording studio, but we really leaned into the analog aspect of things. So we record a lot in full analog.
Oh, very cool. What struck me musically was how many different artists passed through here, from Leon to the Gap Band to JJ Cale to Petty with Mud Crutch, Dwight Twilley, and now great artists are still coming. Give me a rundown of the recent artists here.
Let's see. We're really proud of the fact that Taj Mahal is recorded with us. He received a Grammy in February for his Best Blues album that was recorded with us. We've had Kenny Loggins. We've had Air Supply. We've had Elle King, Jimmy Webb, who's another Okie. Let's see. We've had Bill Champlin. We've had Bill Ward of Black Sabbath, the drummer for Black Sabbath. Let's see. We've had, there's just so many since we do record 7 days a week. George Thorogood has recorded with us. Michael Martin Murphy, Wildfire, he recorded with us. Recently, we had Sixpence, None the Richer. And so they're really awesome. And one of our latest favorites is Tedeschi Truck Span.
Wow. It's very interesting to see how people are attracted to this, and they love the history, right? When the artists come here.
Yeah, they're obsessed with the history. I mean, I think artists just, they love, again, paying tribute to artists that came before them, being inspired by their music, not necessarily replicating it, but just drawing inspiration from it. And they just really, again, they call it the vibe. And when you couple that with our museum quality microphone collection, tape machines, we have an amazing console that came from the great Daniel Lanois, and a lot of people recorded on that. So a lot of the equipment has pedigree as well. And so when you couple that with this old church that was a recording studio in the 70s, I mean, they just really love it.
I'm quite sure coming here, you instantly feel the legacy of the place. What are your favorite musical songs from the early days of the church?
Of course, all the Tom Petty songs, American Girl and Breakdown. You mentioned Dwight Twilley earlier. He was a little bit different than the Tulsa sound genres that came through there, but he recorded a whole album. But I'm on Fire, Looking for the Magic. I mean, so many great songs from Dwight Twilley. One of my favorite songs is by Phoebe Snow, called, oh my gosh, I just went blank. The cold I have now is like going to my head. Piano Man is really, really, really beautiful. But Willie Nelson and his sister recorded some great stuff in there. Willis Allen Ramsey, Jimmy Buffett. He recorded some great songs for a Lone Star beer commercial. Of course, you mentioned the Gap Band. That first album is so good, that funk. And of course, they're from Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. So, I mean, it's hard to choose one favorite, but so many great songs. And of course, all the work that Leon Russell did.
I know you've had a number of in-person appearances. Tell us about some of them. The research on this book is masterful, and it's amazing you have all the sensational ads and photos. So how difficult was that to source, kind of putting all that together?
Well, it's something again, a lot of the items that are scanned in the book, I had in my personal collection. So it was just a matter of photographing them or scanning them. But, in this day and age, it's easy to research things. I was just really taken that this this church had no documented history, no architect of record, and no builder, because the people built this church, and it's just a really beautiful story. So I started piecing together these little articles that started appearing about 1913 in our local paper. So, like any research, you just get on a rabbit trail and try to piece it together. And I thought it was important to tell the entire building story, not just, even though I'm a huge Leon Russell fan and J.J. Kell fan, and that's really where my passion started. But I think it's really important to document and tell the story of the entire provenance of the building.
And I was mentioning also, I said number of in-person appearances. Tell us about some of those.
In what regard?
Like in the number of in-person appearances that you've had at the church. Tell us about some. Like, I guess I'm trying to figure that out too.
Okay.
Like you when you do events and stuff. I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we're primary recording studio, so we record musicians. We ran about 1,500 musicians the past 12 months. So we're very, very busy with that. But we do sprinkle in programming. So we have a program called, Legacy Concert Series. And so I often will interview the artist. I mentioned Kenny Loggins earlier. So he came through, recorded, did a performance, but I also had an opportunity to interview him. And you can see those interviews on our YouTube channel. But we do a lot of that. And so that's really, really nice. We also have a program called In Session, and that's where the audience is fully integrated in a recording session. So we limit it to 50 people. They have headphones, they have a cue box, they can hear everything in analog, they can hear the multi-track, because most people don't get to experience listening that way. And we're so used to hearing compressed music, right? So it's kind of nice to hear it in analog. So that's one of our programs as well. So again, we have so many people that come through there, and I don't get to interview all of them, but I do have an opportunity, especially the legacy artists that will weigh in on analog gear, or they knew Leon Russell, or they spent time in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in the day. So I really like to, tie it back into what we're doing when I do get a chance to interview them.
Well, it's fabulous things you have going on. It's definitely, when I visit Tulsa, I'm going to have to go and come to check out your building. I definitely, for sure. You're not having any podcasters, right? You're doing most of the recording. Are you doing any podcast recording there?
We do for the public. We have several podcasters that use our facility for recording. I mean, we curate a lot of, I know you're a marketing person, we curate a lot of content to continue to build our digital footprint. And I think, we've done really well with that. So we have everything from original music on Spotify to our YouTube channel to all of the social channels. But again, we do interviews, but they're not quite in podcast format. But we're talking to some celebrity artists that are interested in joining what we're doing and have a podcast coming from the church studio. So I hope in 2026 we get to introduce that.
Yeah, if you start getting a bunch of podcasts, that's going to be the next big thing. I'm working with a company called Radiate, where I'm bringing podcasts on to the network. So it's a streaming channel that has movies and stuff like that. And we're going to be the first to the podcast side that I'm bringing different. Amazing. Yeah. So I got some things in the works in 2026 as well.
It's exciting. Well, let us know what we can do to help. We get a lot of requests for it. I mean, we've been featured on Sirius XM and other radio type shows. So again, I see our digital footprint continue to climb. And I mean, obviously we have to podcast, but we've only been open for 3 years, and we just blew up. Literally tens of thousands of people have been over. And so just building a brand new team, and developing a business model that sustains this amazing historic property.
I think you're definitely in the right place, because a lot of times people are not doing in-person studios anymore. A lot of people are having them in their like their house or different places, and they really don't get out to network. And that's a key thing in music, to network and hang out and jam together. And I think, and especially to know you're in a place that produce such amazing music. It's like, it's kind of like if you're a performer in Madison Square Garden. Well, if you're a recorder, going to the church studios is about the same thing. You know,
Right.
that kind of feel
Yes, I
for the
appreciate you
recording
saying
side, because of the history. It's like every building and the history.
that.
There's
Well,
nothing like it when you walk into
right.
certain
And good
places.
sound recording. I mean,
Yeah.
again, people are so used to, AI and fake
Mhm.
instrumentation. And if you really love the warmth of analog and true sound capture, then, definitely the church studio is a place you would want to record. And you're right, it's not needed. I mean, there are a lot of viable alternative and substitute products for a recording studio our size, but you really can't replicate the sound that we generate.
And then the event, if you're bringing different people and artists coming in, then other people are more likely to go record at the same place. So
Right.
it's like building that community. That's the
Mhm.
key thing, especially to bring music continue to grow, because it's all about, cranking it out and never know what's going to happen in the music world. So that's for sure.
Right.
What are your ultimate goals for the church studios?
Well, I definitely want to continue building, our digital brand alongside of our brick and mortar, and really our digital brand has outgrown it into a certain degree. So again, expanding into other areas like podcasting, but sharing, capturing what we do every day that people that don't live locally can enjoy that. But, we definitely want to keep growing it. We're working with most of the major record labels. And, we were an unknown studio 3 years ago. So it's been really nice to have clients from New York and LA and Nashville and Austin and Kansas to come to Tulsa. 2026 is the 100th anniversary of the Mother Road of Route 66, and Tulsa, Oklahoma is the capital of Route 66. So we're preparing some really fun new exhibits in the museum part of what we do
Oh,
to
wow.
welcome those visitors. And, we've done it carefully so it doesn't, compromise or take away from the recording process. But we just want to, keep growing. So we're really, really excited about the direction we are heading right now.
All right, Teresa, best place people can find info on you and go check out the church studios. Where can they go?
Yeah, go to our website, thechurchstudio.com. If you like video, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, and The Church Studio is our handle on all of the social platforms. But we have tons of content there that I think your listeners will enjoy.
Also, what's very interesting, and it's great to look at this, is the fact of having the ability to uh, bring it to life in so many aspects and so many opportunities and possibilities. People just definitely have to check it out. So we appreciate it, Teresa.
Yeah,
Best of luck.
thank you so much.
All right. You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back. And the Artilla podcast with our host, Dr. Mohammad. Dr. Mohammad, this topic is going to get you a little going. AI agents, are they worth it? What's an AI agent? And are agents the next big thing to making your life easier? So, first of all, define an AI agent for me.
So let's start with the truth is that I don't really know what is an AI agent, and I think many people are in the same shoes because it has been used a bit vaguely. So I'll try to throw a vague definition. An AI agent is an automation that takes an input and gives you an output and has like a decision-making power. That's basically what we call agentic flows or an AI agent. Otherwise, we would have to call it an automation.
Is ChatGPT an AI agent?
ChatGPT is an AI model.
But what about when you're in the chat? The chat, is that an AI agent?
The chat is an agent. The chat mode is an agent.
Okay.
Because it's going to consult the AI model and it's going to take your input and then give you an output. So yes, it is an agent or an agentic interaction. And there are many other things. You can have an agent that connects you to LinkedIn. You can have an agent that pulls data from Google Sheet. So it's very quick. You can call almost anything an agent if it can connect to something and use AI to either change the text or take a decision.
Okay. So I'm understanding that. So for example, good old Microsoft Copilot, and I'm going to see if I can go see if I can line up for Copilot right now and see if it lets me sign up for Microsoft Copilot. I'm going to go do that really quickly while we're talking. you in that you can create agents. So they call it Smart GPT-5. Thinks deeply, search. So I just went into Copilot for free, and I think it says create a logo, create an image.